Okay, let me call the regular meeting to order of the bond referendum public safety subcommittee. The fire administration presentation. We're in the fire administration conference room. Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Chair, Jesus Olivares.
Here.
Vice Chair Monica Garcia.
She called in. She won't be able to make it today.
Secretary Lucy Morris.
Present.
Edward Garza.
Present.
Albert Chapa.
She's present.
He's present. Belinda Guerra.
Present.
And Mr. Rick Laudel. He's indicated that he's out of town.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
We have Rick Laudel, is he?
He's not.
He's not gonna,
Okay.
He mentioned he was going to be on.
out of town.
Okay.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Any public comments? Do we have anybody that signed up or anything? Chief, no? Okay. Discussion with possible action on the proposed fire department bond package. Presentation by Chief.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, committee members, liaisons. Guillermo Hurd, Fire Chief and Emergency Management Coordinator. Thank you for allowing me to give a presentation on our bond package for the 5 to 7 year master plan as instructed by Mayor and Council. So in front of you, you all have a chart. It has the presentation. The presentation is made small so you can write on it. And then I have a lot of supplement information relevant to the ask that we're doing. At any point, if you feel you have further questions for me, feel free to ask. I do have another supplement presentation to this one. This one's short as instructed by the...
Would you introduce your staff?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So Guillermo Hurd, Fire Chief. And then I'll start off with, this is all my command staff. I'll start off with Assistant Chief Silvestre Rodriguez, Deputy Chief Ruben Mendiola, Deputy Chief Chris Perez, Deputy Chief Ricardo Cedillo, and District Chief Ruben Dominguez. And then in the background, I have a lot of our support staff that help us create this package too. So all of us are back here are all my other chiefs. So.
Thank you.
So this presentation is about 10 to 15 slides. It's a lot of condensed information, and I do have a supplement presentation in it also too, that if I have the opportunity, I'll also present it, but it's also in your package when you have more specific questions on why we're asking for specific things, why I'm asking for this type of facility, why I'm asking for this type of trainings or this type of equipment. So I'll go ahead and start with a quick overview of our current infrastructure. So currently we have 15 fire stations that are strategically placed throughout the entire city. Each of the fire stations, except the airport station that's directly inside the airport, has a fire truck. We have 407 uniformed personnel. 469 have been approved by council. So in the last 2 budget years, they've increased our FTEs, 24 the last budget year and 38 for the new budget year. Every time that we activate new units, new stations, best practices and per contract, we have to hire new FTEs. So I can't use existing full-time employees to activate new equipment, new ambulance, new fire trucks. So every time that I activate a new station or new unit, I have to hire new FTEs. So currently right now we have 24 FTEs and 38 FTEs that have been approved by budget. I'm sorry, by council and mayor, and those currently they're in the academy, and 38, we just started a new hiring practice, a new hiring cycle, and those hopefully will start in summer of next year, and they will graduate 2 years after that. The 24 that you see there are for the Buena Vista Fire Station. That is part of the ask that I'll be requesting today. Currently, we are in the process of that station. So 24. So for every time that we activate a fire truck and a ladder truck, we are supposed to hire, best practices is 15 firefighters every time that we activate an ambulance, it's 9 firefighters. And then every time we activate a incident commander or an EMS captain, it's 8 firefighters. And that's a practice what we've always done. So at that station at Buena Vista, which is gonna be right in front of the sports complex, we're gonna have a fire truck and we're gonna have an ambulance too. So that gives me the 24. At mile marker 15, which is gonna be fire station number 17, we're gonna have a fire truck, a ladder truck, and then given because of span of control is, right now currently I have 3 incident commanders, and I'll go into more detail. I have 3 emergency districts. We have to increase it to 4 emergency districts. So that's why we requested 38 FTEs from city management, mayor, and council, and that was approved for this new budget year. Each station is strategically placed throughout the city. Each one handles fire suppression, emergency medical services. Some of the stations that we have do specialty responses, hazardous material response, airport rescue operations, and then rescue specialty stations. The jaws of life, when there's a building collapse, when somebody falls down a trench or a well. So there's certain stations throughout the city that respond specifically for that. Go to the next one. A quick overview of our budget. We are the 2nd largest department in the city of Laredo, behind Laredo Police. Currently, our operating budget for this year is $74 million. 91% of our budget is personnel, salary, and fringe benefits. And that leaves us with a difference that is material supplies, contractual service, and other charges. This year, our approved capital improvement projects were the Buena Vista Fire Station, the construction. The difference in cost from our initial proposal 2 years ago. 2 fire trucks. We strategically started a strategic plan to replace all our fire trucks, ambulances, and our emergency units. 2 of them are coming up to the term that we determined that have to be replaced strategically in order for us to function efficiently out and provide the service that we have to. 3 ambulances, a tanker truck, and also each fire station is supposed to have an alarm and sprinkler system. So we were approved close to $5 million through our CAP for this year. So give you a quick overview of the ask. Why are we asking for, the big ask that from the fire department is going to be facilities, stations. That's a big ask for us. So the last station that was added, not remodeled or relocated, was in 2003. So since 2003, the city has annexed close to 20,000 acres, a little bit over 30 square miles. It is, and as is mentioned by our mayor, our council, we are the largest land port, and sometimes we go back, we sometimes go between 1 and 2, the largest land port in the Western Hemisphere. So there has to be a station specifically within a certain mile radius for us to respond between the best practices and standards that every other city has. Go to the next slide. So one of the challenges that we have here is the city is one of the fastest cities growing in the United States. And we haven't added a new station since 2003. The last station that we added was the Celito Lito station by LBJ. Since then, we've remodeled several stations. The last station that we remodeled was the station right here that was beside our admin building. We've also relocated the station that was at the airport. Right in front of LPD station, we had two companies there. One of the stations, we put it deeper inside the airport, but it's still the same response. So the last time we've added response was this 2003. That's more than 20 years ago. So that's the challenge that we've seen. We see growth in South Laredo, a lot of residential growth, and we see a lot of growth in Northwest, industrial growth, warehouses. Before, when we used to talk about $250,000 size warehouses, we were like, that's really large now. A million square foot warehouses are being built all the way by Mines Road, all the way to Columbia Bridge. So on the fire side, that's the challenge. How are we going to get there on time, and are we going to have enough water to put there to extinguish the fire? So the solution is, as the city manager has mentioned when he gave the presentation to council, is the 2 big departments that always take the bigger chunk of the CIP are police and fire. So the referendum was proposed. Go to the next slide. So last year, we hired a consultant to give us a strategic study of all our fire stations and to see the growth of the city. So he gave us 2 studies, and the studies you have there are with you. Last year, we reached out to Houston Fire, and the chief from over there recommended Mr. Peach. He came down and did a strategic study of all our fire stations. He also saw all our fire trucks and our ladder trucks, and then he analyzed it with us and said and recommended where we should put our fire trucks, ladder trucks, and also where, given the growth in the next 5 years, where we should put each station. He also did a study from 5 to 10 years, so we have both of those studies are in your master plan. I'm gonna be focusing more on the 5 to 7 year study. So within that study, he did show that we need to have 3 additional fire stations built within the city of Laredo. 2 of them are already in process of being built. One of them is by the Buena Vista area where the sports complex is, and the other one is by Mall Market 15. That fire station should have been built a couple of years ago, but there's been a lot of challenges with that. Once I get into that, I'll tell you more of the challenges specifically to that. Also, given the Char Rutherford or the Texas Highway 84 that's going to be built between 35 and Mines Road, where they connect, that's where he identified that another fire station should be built. He also identified that between the fire stations that we have a fire station in front of TAMIU, and then the next fire station that we have on the loop is by the SAC, by the sports complex that UISD has. All in between that area, he identified also that if we put a fire truck that responds outside the airport at the airport station, we would fill that void for the response. So that's the other one that he recommended also. And then our ladder trucks. Our ladder trucks are the big trucks that we have throughout the city. They're the ones that have the ladder. We do not have a lot of high rises in the city, but that's not their only purpose. They also are there to put the hose that they have on the ladder truck provides a lot of water to disperse to any type of fire. So given the size of a certain building, you need to have that type of truck respond. So we had a ladder truck at the station that is by Sam's in front of there, and then we had a ladder truck that was by the Cielito Lito station. So he also recommended that those 2 ladder trucks be placed in different areas of the city. So we moved the one from Cielito Lindo to Cigarroa station, and then the one that was at Sam's, we moved into the Mines Road area. Apart from that, he also identified that we need 2 additional ladder trucks. Another one in South Laredo, that is in the master plan, and that's part of my ask, and then another one in North Laredo, over there by the Buena Vista, by the mile marker 15 area where we're building that additional fire station. In 2018, I believe, right, Chief, 2018, another study was done by the fire department under Chief Landin's, when Chief Landin was the fire chief. They identified that the fire station that we currently have at the airport station should be also moved closer to the McPherson and Calton area in order to respond to the residential area too. So that's the other study that you also have in your packet. So that also is supposed to be moved closer. So that station, as Chief, it has the same challenges that the police chief mentioned.
Right.
That is not per se city property, it's airport property, and we rent the station too. We approximately $200,000 a year we pay to the airport. We've also been told by the airport director that that is a prime area, and that there has been several requests by the neighboring the Signature and the other one on the other side for once we vacate, they want to rent the area. So there's 2 major facilities that we have there. We have our fire station there, and then we also have our shop. Yes, ma'am.
So when you say relocate, does that mean actually building a whole new building, or do you utilize some of this stuff in this building, relocate it, or?
So we've looked at different options, given the fact that the challenge is because of the CIP. So ideally, it's better for us to get the instructions I've been told completely out of the lease. Most of the land around that area is owned by the airport. So there's different areas that we've identified that are possibly areas that we could build a station. We've sent out letters of interest, just letters of interest. If you want, I can give you more specifics of where it is, but around that same area. And ideally we would like to build our own fire station there. So the fire station, it's 2 parts there. So we have a shop there. The fire department has their own shop because of the different, because our trucks are different, and that's been approved for many years. So we also have a shop where we fix our own fire trucks there. We've outgrown that since many, many years ago. That is also one of our CIPs that we're currently working on. So we're planning to relocate that shop at the fire station that is catty corner to Doctor's Hospital too. So 2 different phases. Phase 1 is move the fire shop, and phase 2 is move the station, and then we'll empty out the land in order for the airport to, for us to get out of that lease, and also for the airport to be able to lease that land. Did I answer your question, ma'am?
And how, more or less, where is that Bartlett location, North Bartlett?
So the area that we've looked at different areas. We've looked at a leasing area that's also catty corner to it's also airport land. It's catty corner to the San Martin de Porres Church.
Okay.
It does need a lot of work, but something that we've talked to the airport director is anything that we put into it, that it can be abated, so we can take it off on the rent. But ideally is further down, a couple of blocks down, there is some vacant land there. There's about 3 acres down there that is not owned by the airport, and that's where we're sending a letter of interest to see if that's a possibility. There's other areas too, but they're just going too deep into the district, closer to the other station that's down there, ma'am.
Right. Okay.
The next one?
Chief?
Yes.
When you say like the existing building, like, you would have to fix up, and then that's abated rent, but then you're gonna pay rent for
Yes.
the rest of the time, like you're doing now?
Yes. So ideally, financially, what we've been instructed, and what I also think is the best thing is to get out of that lease completely. Get out and build our own station somewhere where we be more efficient. Okay, so a little bit more detail on the strategic new locations that was identified in the master plan that was done by Mr. Peach. The first one was the Buena Vista Fire Station. That would be fire station number 16. That is where the sports complex is. It's going to be right in front. That is in process already. Two budget cycles ago, we were approved $1.5 million for land and design. Currently, we're already in the design process right now. We actually were meeting earlier with the architect already to choose specifically on the specific design of our station interior and on the interior part first. We already hired the personnel. They're already half into the academy too. When we started this project, we started at about $200 to $300 a square foot. When we went to the budget last year, and we sat down with the city engineer, we were thinking $450 to $500 per square foot. We recently submitted a bid proposal for the fire shop, which is not as complex as a fire station. That came out about $550 a square foot. So sitting down with our architects and the city engineer, so we're calculating that it would be about $700 to $750 a square foot to build a new fire station. We're trying to be as fiscally responsible on what we ask on the fire station, but it has drastically increased in price.
It's not going down.
And it's not going
I'm
down.
not sure about what constructability, but we need to confirm that.
So the fire station that was built right here, Station 8, relocated. It was built in 2016. It was about $250 a square foot. It cost about $3 million to build. If we would use today's prices, it'd be a little bit over $8 million.
Yeah, there's no end in sight. That's why building buildings right now, it's even hard to even estimate it. I think what you're doing there is good, except I think we just need to maybe get more feedback from the architects.
Okay.
And get a little bit more finer information. So because by the time these things actually go out to bid, it's gonna go up.
Yeah.
And we need to have contingency in place so that way we don't come in with an amount and then we have mud on our face because we need some more money. So we need to have something in place, even with contingency balance built in, so the city's prepared for the higher prices, because we're seeing that everywhere, no matter what it is we're building.
And that's a challenge that currently we have.
Yeah.
So the fire shop is the first phase 1 to move that station out of there. We also started at $200 a square foot and then came back at $550. Currently right now, we've cut as much as possible from that building, and that is also part of our referendum request. We are short $3 million for the fire station in South Laredo too. So that's because of the increase of cost. Our architect that we hired did say between 6 and 650, but talking to the city engineer, he feels more 700, and then we did put for each year 5% increase at least. So we're trying to be as fiscally responsible, at the same time we're trying to be realistic with the cost as much as possible.
Good.
So the next fire station is the one at mile marker 15. Originally, many years ago, Mr. Olivares, Unitech was an area that was proposed. They still mention that to us, but the response time being inside Unitech with the traffic it's very difficult. So we've been in talks with a possible donor on the other side. They've actually identified also an area that they possibly will donate, or we've met with them. We met with them recently about a month and a half ago, but the city also did a lot, 1.5 million for land acquisition and also design. So if it doesn't turn into a donation, we do have already the money to buy the land also.
Yeah, we need to encourage land donations every chance we get, so that way money can be put into brick and mortar. So, we just need to reach out to all developers in town. We need to create an incentive program somehow to want them to donate to the city, because there's benefit for landowners to have a fire station on their property.
Yes, it is.
Period. There's a benefit, and it's usable for marketing purposes, to bring in more warehousing in this example, for warehouses, because those warehouse owners rely on fire protection to keep their insurance premiums at bay, and all the work that they invest in those buildings has everything to do with fire protection.
Yes.
And so there's a benefit to a landowner in that area.
But also, when you're talking about that also, you have to realize that a lot of this, they have to be in a central area where they can get to places, and that land isn't always available for just a donation, right? So, I think that's a great grand thing to want that, but in order for you to be strategically placed where you can get from place to place without being way deep inside of Mines Road or whatever, we're gonna have to, that could be.
No, I agree. I think the solution is part of what the city of Laredo has through its future thoroughfare plan. It's not placing it today where the existing roads are, it's where the existing roads are not. And that's where we need to be placing these fire stations, so that way we can promote this thoroughfare plan to all the development community. Because not only are we going to be building new fire stations, but we're going to be developing more land and expanding our tax base in the process. And that's a win-win for the city. And that's how we need to think about placing police buildings, fire stations. I think that's an important ingredient to help the taxpayer understand we're not investing in today, even though we have to build 3 right now. We're investing for the next 20 to 50 years, and we're going to help expand the tax base in the process.
Yeah.
And this warehousing is going to increase our taxes to where the residential population doesn't have to carry the ball. So that's a win-win, in my opinion, for our city.
But the gentleman from Houston actually did a study.
Yes, he did the study.
And that's what we have to kind of.
And I also have, at the very end of the presentation, I do have the 5 to 10 year, and it shows for the next one.
Right.
So one of the things is the planning and zoning, they do send us an email and tell us those are the annexations, and I have reached out and told them this is an ideal area. I would be requesting at least 3 to 4 acres. At the MPO meetings where they're strategically looking at the size, I do have one of my chiefs attend that meeting too and provide that information on the areas of the growth too. And like you mentioned, in order to strategically place for the future growth of the city's booming, in order for us to have those different stations in order to respond efficiently.
It's obvious where the growth is going.
Yes.
This is something that we looked at like 10 years ago, that we anticipated all this, and it's moving a lot quicker than what we anticipated. And y'all having a presence in that area is very strategic.
Yes.
And I agree with Mr. Garza that at some point there's got to be some kind of effort to work with the developers. I don't know, is it Char folks that own that property right
yes,
now?
the Ruthinger. Yes, Char Ruthinger.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that. Yeah. I know it's business, but I think it's a good point to get that fire protection, so they can even get, they could probably even get more for their land.
Yes. Yeah.
With y'all being present.
It's an investment into their own property too. So.
Right.
Yes. And I'll go more into that specifically about the insurance premium. I have a slide on that, but it's a good point, Mr.
That's a good point.
So on that one, originally when we looked at the cost for that station at mile marker 15, with the old was $5 billion. Right now we're looking at 8.4. That station there, at the entrance of the city, I would also have, what we're requesting is an ambulance, fire truck, a ladder truck, our hazardous material team, a second one because of the area, it's a warehouse area, and then also an incident commander and an EMS captain too. So that will probably be our biggest station in the entire city.
Okay.
The next one is putting the fire truck at the airport station, and the last one is that fire station that we identified at the Mine Road, the Texas Highway 84. So that's the third station.
And locating some equipment over on the other side of the airport.
Yes.
You might want to explain to the committee that there's another fire station on the other side, right?
Yes.
And you're going to provide some equipment there that will respond to
On the outside.
Not just to the airport. It would go out.
So we have a station. When you use the airport, there's a building south of it. We have a fire station there. That station, that truck there, it's a big green truck. It used to be at the station in front of the LPD headquarters. That station was built about 10 years ago and was put there. That station, that crew only responds to the inside of the airport. That's it, all they do. They're specially trained for airport. It's a very different type of response. So we've identified that between the TAMIU station in the north and the SAC station in the south, that if they have to respond in that general 59 area, it's more than a 4 to 5 minute response. Right. Ideally, we want to be between 4 to 5 minutes. So it was identified that we need to have a fire truck there. So we can have a fire truck there that responds from the inside there and responds to the emergency calls there. So it's just, that one is buying a fire truck. Fire trucks in pre-COVID used to be $500,000. Now they're like $800,000 to $900,000. And then
and how long do they last for you, Chief? How long do they last?
About 10 years as a front line, and then 5 years as a reserve unit. And that is if we have an active maintenance program on there.
So you have a 15-year service.
About a 15-year program. So
that's good. Okay.
That's ideal. We do have some trucks that are, unfortunately, during COVID era, because parts and the challenges went a little bit beyond that, but the city has been really good, and in that replacement program that we started, we're up to date on most of our trucks right now. So that truck would be there. That's about an $850,000 truck, and that's an activation of a new unit, so we need to hire an additional 15 FTEs. So then the other station is the one that's by Mines Road and the Green Ranch area too.
Always based on what you just said, Chief, if you hire 15 FTEs for that station, does that mean you have to expand the area of that station?
No,
of the building?
the station already is built. It has about 10 dorms. That is actually our most modern station. It has individualized dorms, and I'll go more specific in that. So that is ready to have 4 more firefighters inside that station.
Perfect.
That's a strategic move there.
Go to the next one. So here is also, go back to the other one. I highlighted again right now what we think is $700 a square foot. A quick overview of our responses. Blue is our EMS calls, and red is our fire calls. Okay. We are a service department. We provide service to the city. We're public servants. That's what we do. The majority of our calls, like any other fire EMS department in the United States or in the world, is most of our calls are EMS. About 70% of our calls are EMS based. So as you can tell here, most of our calls on the EMS side are on this tier. Each of the street names represents a fire station. I didn't put the fire number, I put more of the street name. So, and in your packet, I also have a map of where the stations are. So most of our EMS calls are in South Laredo and West Laredo. Why? There's more challenges there, less access to health care. So that's where we have the majority of our responses of our EMS calls. Some people don't have health insurance. The only place they get medical care is the emergency room. Call 911. So that's where we have most of our calls. As you can tell, like the other stations, Mines, McPherson, they have less calls. Here are the fire calls. Also, they're mostly in South Laredo and also West Laredo. Why? Some of those houses are not built to code. So they're older houses too. They don't have the right walls. They don't have the right electrical system. So there's where we respond to more fires, and that is also why we strategically moved the ladder truck closer from South Laredo to more the Santo Niño area too, to help respond to that area too.
So Chief, just looking at that graph, that's for a 12-month period, fiscal year 23-24. So that means you're answering 2,600 ambulance calls per month
Yes.
and 946 fire calls per month. That's what you're doing currently.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if the general public knows this. And if we're gonna sell a bond to the general public, they need to know this.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I had.
They need to know this,
Yes.
you know, because that's a lot of work
Yeah.
being put in right there.
So our fire station, one of the common questions I always get asked, Chief, why do you send a fire truck to a car accident? Or why do you send a fire truck to a person having a medical call? Okay, because when a person is in acute distress, you need, on an ambulance you have two people. When you go to the emergency room and you're in acute distress, you're having a heart attack, a stroke, they have a team of 8 to 10 people. So that's why every time we send, we don't know what we're responding to. We just get a general information, and we hope that most of the time it's right. Sometimes we go to weakness call, and we end up, it's a person in full cardiac arrest, a shooting or something like that. So we always send, there's certain criteria that we always send the ambulance and the fire truck and the supervisor. 90% of our personnel are all trained to be paramedics too. All our personnel are trained in life-saving skills, but 90% is paramedics. So all our personnel on the fire trucks can all do advanced procedures, EKG interpretation, push medications. So even if an ambulance is out, because the ambulance is very busy, the fire truck can respond and provide first aid too. So that's why if you see a car accident right now, you're gonna see a fire truck and an ambulance. The fire truck also has different responsibilities too. Patient care, but also scene safety. Electrical vehicles are more challenging now, so they have to also make sure that there's not a fire within that car accident too. So every year our calls go up 5 to 10%. Every year we have more and more calls. Our ambulances that are in the middle of the city, the one that's by Nixon High School is our busiest one. That if you get assigned to that station, you're probably not going to sleep at that station. The fire truck too goes out a lot, but the neighboring fire trucks and ambulances also go out. They're extremely busy too, and we'll make sure we push that out message to people, because that is a lot of calls.
I think it's important just to educate the general public in the sense of asking them to vote in favor of a referendum that's supporting what your growth looks like, because this is ongoing today. We're not even talking about the future yet.
And I think we should always say it goes up 5% per year, like you said, and we haven't had a new building since
Yes.
2003. So, I mean, those are super important for marketing, both of those.
Go to the next slide. So this is a quick overview about between the calls of last year and this and the current last year and currently. So we are projected, like I said, to have 5 to 10% more calls. So here on the bottom, I'm just showing you the different areas where we strategically want to place those different units that I'm telling you to activate that will help respond in the different areas. So one of the requests that we have on our referendum is most of our fire stations have an ambulance at our stations. The busiest ambulance is the one that's by Nixon High School. One of the requests that we have is, and council was asking me about this in this budget cycle, is having an ambulance at the station in front of at the airport, the one in front of LPD. That's something that we've been trying to get. Is it a need? Extremely. But then at the same time, I have a lot of other needs. The stations in the north and the south. That station there, right now, for that, if we get a call for it to go to Nixon High School, it takes about 3 minutes. But if it needs to go to the Laredo International Airport over there by Signature, it takes 10 minutes. So what we're requesting is to put an ambulance there to respond quicker. The same thing with Mines Road. If the fire station, the fire truck that is there by Mines Road, it takes about 6 minutes to get to, like Faskin Elementary. To get to the Green Ranch subdivision, that's 12 minutes. That's not really including traffic, that's just the distance of it. So each of them shows specifically on the request of the different areas that we want to activate new trucks. So we have a certain threshold of response that we're supposed to have, which shows better patient outcomes and also for us to protect the property. And that's where we're strategically asking for us to put different stations, to put a fire truck, a ladder truck, an ambulance, an incident commander in at those different areas.
So it sounds like to me that you need all these trucks today versus deferring one over a 2 or 3 year period. Is that true?
On some of them, some are higher tier than other ones. But the challenge has always been is the FTEs that we request. And then also there's a bond capacity, as the budget director and managers have mentioned. It's usually 20 to 30 million per year. And that usually, as has been mentioned before, is PD and fire take most of it. So most of the time we come with a request and it's like, what do you really need? Like this time is, what do you really need, chief? Well, I need to construct my station in the north. And last year was, what do you really need? I need to make my station in the south. And I was being asked by council for that ambulance in the middle of the city. Do I need it? Do I want it? Yes, but I could wait another year for it too. So,
Well, I guess where I'm going with this comment is, when I came into this meeting today, I already knew in my head that you need 3 more stations, just to keep up with growth currently. That's what I understand. But now it looks like we need more trucks and more ambos. Now, is there such a thing as buying in bulk and you get a discount? Is there such a thing as that in the industry?
yes. So something we do also with the ambulances, we started this during COVID, because before, when we used to buy ambulances, before it's like when we get approved by council and mayor to buy an ambulance, it used to be, by the time we get approved, within 12 months. During COVID, it went all the way to 3 to 4 years. So what we did is, we always used to buy a brand new shiny ambulances. And then the team came to me, chief, what happens if we just take the box and put it on another chassis? And we save money like that. So what we do now, 3 years ago, we were approved for 2 ambulances. We ended up getting 3 ambulances like that. So we're trying to be strategic like that. So buying bulk will work, but not on the ambulances, but on the fire trucks it does too. So my ask is the big ask is the facilities, because they're a lot more expensive, but I'm also asking for fire trucks, ladder trucks, ambulances, but some of them also come with full-time employees too. Best practices and our contract obligation also too.
You know, based on all the calls that you get on your ambulances, you're having to hold some of your staff on overtime because you had so many calls?
Yes. So the busiest stations, when they have to go to the call, come back. Each call takes about an hour and a half. Sometimes we go in at 8 in the morning and then we leave at 8 in the morning the next day. Sometimes we get those calls at 7:30, and then we have to go to the call. We're always ready for duty. There's always somebody there. And then we try not to have any vacancies. So if nobody comes in, they have to stay until they're properly relieved, until the staff. And per contract, they're paid the overtime also too. So currently right now in the fire department, we have over 30 vacancies because of COVID. And then also there was some pension changes, so we did have more retirees than usual 2 years ago. So we're trying to catch up from that. Each vacancy also leads to some overtime costs too at the same time. And that's why in the last 3 years, we've had two back-to-back academies. We are also projecting that in the next 3 to 4 years, we're also going to have back-to-back academies. We haven't had that in a while because of the growth and the retirees that we're also trying to do. So we also incur a lot of operational costs too. We are an expensive department too. I will not shy away from that.
So, you know, that puts a strain on that particular division right there, especially, you know, getting more ambulances is great, but you also got to staff it.
Yes. It's a staffing, yes. And currently right now, we graduated 2 academies a year and a half ago. Currently we have 2 academies right now, one in the EMS and one in the fire section. One is for the 24 FTEs and one is for the retirees we have. Currently we have over 30 vacancies. Once we graduate that academy in summer, we should have between 5 to 10 vacancies at the most within the next 3 to 4 years, as long as we can keep up having academies strategically for the next couple of years. That's just for the retirees, because every year we have about 10 to 15 retirees. So it is a challenge. In order for us to properly plan with my team, my vacancies that I have right now, I'm looking all the way up to 3 years from now. Our academies are, because you get 2 major certifications when you graduate from the fire academy. You get to be a firefighter, structural firefighter, and then you also get to be a paramedic. Between both those academies, we've reduced it from 26 months to 22 months. That does not include our hiring practice. Our hiring practice is, we just gave the applications right now. So the applications is, we're hoping to start the academy in, when did I tell you? April. Strategically, he's told me May, but I've been really pushing him to April. Why April? Because what I'm seeing is, okay, April, and then I'm looking at that station in Buena Vista. That's the personnel. So I tell them I need to start in order to have the personnel ready, to have them graduate in order to staff that station over there too. So we think 3 to 3.5 years ahead of time. So I'm already thinking, how many, with the pension administrator, he on a quarterly basis, he always gives me all the possible retirees, and he shows me, Chief, these are the ones that are eligible to retire, and are this, so I always look at it, and about 50% of them are gonna retire. Ideally, a firefighter can retire at 20 years of service or 50 years old. So we look at that time frame, and those are the ones I look at, and I look, well, those are the ones that are possibly gonna retire, so that for the next 3 to 4 years, we're anticipating 10 to 15 retirees per year. Now you might ask, and I'll go more into detail on this, but since I'm talking about it, it's like, why do firefighters retire at an early age? Our projected lifespan for a firefighter recently improved from 58 years old to 61 years old. Yeah. So that is the reason that we retire early. There's been a lot of strides in the fire department to reduce the carcinogens and the exposure of the different things that we are exposed to, but cancer, heart attacks is a big risk for firefighters. Currently, right now, we have 199 retirees. 60% of our retirees are under 60 years old and have less than 10 years of service. When I look at that, statistics shows that not a lot of firefighters make it past 60 to 70 years old. That is the truth. So it has improved. There's been a lot of strides by my chiefs that have done different efforts just by the different programs that we have with the gear that we wear when we respond to calls, different changes that we do, culture change that helps increase our livelihood. So anything that we can do, we'll do that. Different changes that we've seen, that the way the fire station is made. Now the way the fire stations are looked at are hot, warm, and cold zone. A station is not an office for our firefighters, it's a home, that's where they live. So when a firefighter goes to a response, they wear their special gear, and all that gear that they have has dew, mildew, and right now a lot of the materials that are made are cheaper. So what does that, there's more carcinogen. So different ways that we can decontaminate them on the field, and also when you get to the fire station, there's the best practices now, and what the architects have showed us is, if you build certain things at the station where you keep all that residue out to the clean area, which is the living room, the kitchen, the bedroom, you increase the lifespan of your firefighter. So I'll go more into detail of that, but it's just an opportunity to talk to you about that.
And now you have to plan for men and women serving in the same station.
Yeah, diversity and inclusion, that's a big thing too. So the dorms, the way the dorms are too. So in the past, they were more open concept. Now the best practices is to have individualized dorms, individualized showers. Our older fire stations are a challenge, but there's certain things that we're doing to go work around that. We want to make sure that anybody that can pass our minimum standards is welcome to our fire department too. And we've made great strides with our training division. Our chief has led that to help include anybody that has the heart to be a firefighter are welcome in here. As long as you pass the minimum standards, you're able to do the certain competencies and also have the physical skill for it. Okay, so this is a quick map of over our city. So currently right now, the city is divided into 3 districts, 3 emergency districts. District 1, basically Saunders down. District 2 is between Saunders and right there the Man Road area. And District 3 is from that point all the way up. Each area has one district chief. A chief is the one that wears the white shirt. Why do they wear a white shirt? When there's a big incident, an accident or something, where you have a lot of firefighters, they stick out. At the fire calls, each fire truck has a captain. A captain is in charge of that crew. He has a red helmet. So all of those simple things that we do really work. So currently we have 15 fire stations, so the city's divided into 3 district chiefs. With the new additions that we're asking now, we're stretching the scope already. So we're asking for a new district. And with all the assets we're having, the city should be divided into 5 different districts in order for us to respond appropriately. That is part of the master plan too. Here on this map is, you have all the stations here that are strategically placed in order for us to respond. None of the new stations are here. You want to put the next one? So this is where the new stations are that we're going to be requesting. The Buena Vista, the mile marker 15, and the one over there by the Green Ranch area too. So also, this request are not only the chief coming to you, but it also, like I mentioned to you, a public engineer did the study, looked at our plan, was recommended by Houston Fire, so this is where he came up. We weren't looking at the station in Mines Road just yet, but it was identified, and that's why we added it.
What about collaboration with other public entities like school districts, for example? School districts acquire land and hold on to it for some time to plan future schools. I know that for a fact on the mines because I did some work for them 10 years ago. What about collaborating with UISD and using some of their land? Is that even something that is even thought of?
It's something we'll make sure that we'll bring it back and we'll present it to city management and work internally with them. But like you mentioned, Mr. Garza, anytime that we can get free land, we can get it donated.
Well, that's my goal every time I get involved in any land development project that I do for clients. I'm always trying to promote this. And that's why I said at last meeting, I'm going to say it at every meeting. We need to get land donated to the city of Laredo one way or another. One way or another. And we are the ambassadors for that. This committee, we are the ambassador. And I'm going to carry that flag to every meeting that I go to, every time I speak to a private landowner, because this is a valuable service that we are providing to the citizens of Laredo, not just to the people that buy the lots and build a house, but to the people that own the land and develop it to begin with. It is valuable, and they need to be lining up at City Hall wanting to give land to the city, and I've yet to see that.
The building in my area.
So right there at the Mines Green, UISD owns enough land to build a high school, a middle school, a bus facility, and an elementary school, all on the same tract.
Oh, they do?
Yes, sir. I did the engineering work on it. And so that's right in that area. And it's in front along FM 2338, which is programmed to be widened by TxDOT.
And, well, I'll make sure that I do have a real estate division here too. I asked them to come in too, but I'll make sure that we'll talk to management more. Because if I can save $750,000 on land, I can use that to buy a fire truck. So
That's it.
Yes.
That's the nail on the head.
So,
And that's how we stretch the money. And that's how the taxpayer says yes, by stretching the money. We stretch the money, you're gonna get a lot more people saying yes. If we don't stretch the money, it's a hard sell.
we'll make sure to put those ideas and we'll work on
Yeah.
that, sir.
Your Mines Road, Green Ranch, do you have the property for that yet?
No, not that one yet.
Okay.
No, that's the other one that we've identified certain areas. We still haven't sent a letter of interest on that one, but that's the one that one is on the latter part of the 5 to 7 year master plan. But we should try
Okay,
to.
and you can acquire the land and sit on it,
Yes.
you know, and wait.
For the next one. So one of the importance, as you mentioned, Mr. Garza, was one of the things that you mentioned is our response directly correlates to a cost, or it reduces a cost to the consumer, to the business, and the residential. So each fire department in the United States gets a rating, an ISO rating. ISO rating basically says how fast can we respond to a call and preserve property. In 2017, 2018, under the leadership of Chief Landin, we went from a 4 to a 2, right, Chief? That was a huge saving cost to the consumer, to the residential, and the business. We had an opportunity last year to have the survey, and that's why we brought in the consultant originally to look at our ISO and to do certain changes so we can get from a 2 to a 1. So in the December meeting, the State Fire Marshal's office is going to be awarding the fire department a rating of 1. What does a 1 mean? It means we're a premier department and that we can efficiently respond to any call and effectively turn off any fire. and protect the investment of any consumer out there. So from a 4 to a 2, there's a big savings to the residential. From a 2 to a 1, there's more of a savings. Residential doesn't get a savings anymore, but the business owner gets about a 2% savings on their insurance rating. We've also been told that other mayors have also said that one of the 3 biggest things that attract new businesses to their cities are quality of life, tax abatement, and ISO rating. It's a common question that our fire marshal's office gets asked is, what is your ISO rating? What is your ISO rating? Right now, the mayor's always advocating to bring new business because of the growth, because we're ideally located between Monterrey, Austin, and San Antonio. I do feel that keeping that ISO rating will only drive that consumer and those businesses to come into the city of Laredo instead of other different areas.
So what's your rating right today?
2.
And it's going to be 1 in December?
Yes. Well, it already is a
that's
1.
The plan anyway.
Yes. They were supposed to present us the plaque last week, but because there was a change in the council meeting, they moved it up to December. But
Gotcha.
all of that has been because of the work that Chief Landin did, and we just carried that through. So.
Well, you get 2 attaboys for that, Chief.
Two out of boys and
All of us. No, it was a team effort. I mean, they were when I told them I think we could do it. They're like, oh, okay, Chief. But it's the benefits to the consumer out there, and also it's a prime time to have the ISO rating because of the way the city is really growing right now. Put on the next one. We did an assessment. Our biggest ask is, we have many asks, but the biggest ask is our facilities, new buildings, and then also major improvements to some of our existing stations. 50% of our facilities are over 50 years old. Another big thing that drives our new buildings, our improvement, is the Cancer Initiative program. That was to help reduce cancer in our firefighters. As I mentioned to you, the mortality of our firefighters, I mean, 61 for a firefighter, I mean, that is improved, but that is a very young, very, very young to die. The other one is, we noticed too that the way that stations are designed, the color, the lighting, the layout, directly affects PTSD or the stress in our firefighter. Studies do show that firefighting behind the active military personnel are the second highest in PTSD. You know, the stress that we have. Our first responders, our brothers that we work with directly, we're exposed to different elements that we're not supposed to be exposed to every day. But in the past, that's what there was different strategies to help reduce that. But now it's a different culture change with our department. Is we have different things, as we have peer support programs, we have our own psychologists. But we've also noticed that the way the stations are designed, the color, the lighting, directly impacts the stress and the mental health of our firefighters.
Chief?
Yes.
And there's food there, the only equal on this.
Yes.
Okay, so my immediate observation is that we have a bunch of buildings that need to be retrofitted. So that's a long-term plan, perhaps beyond this bond, perhaps. But we need to be planning for that, so that way we're not asking for all this at one time, and we need to start a program going forward. To me, that's after this election. We need to start educating the public and saying, okay, guys, this is what we need now, but this is what we also need very soon thereafter.
But I do still think that all of this information has to be given immediately so that we can.
Right,
Yeah.
so we can piece, so
Yeah,
we can.
not only the amount of calls that you have that is alarming to, you know, somebody like us that aren't here, firefighters, but this is very alarming, and I think this is what's gonna get us the money too. Just like TV has so many, you know, strong things, I think, I mean, I've been cheering all week for you, by the way. And I think this right here, information right here, is just gonna be so alarming to people, and this is why we need money.
Well, what comes to my mind, Chief, as a person involved in land development, is this old building, is it feasible to even keep it and to retrofit it, yes or no? And if it's not feasible and you need a new one elsewhere, then what can we do with the old one? You know, and what can we convert it to?
Some of the, I might have it in some of the other slides that are coming up. I'm going to show you some of those buildings. in the last 5 years, and unfortunately during COVID, everything stopped. We were updating some of those stations, but we still have about 50% to still update in order so we can help make it more efficient, and also to help have those two different factors, the reduction of cancer and PTSD in our firefighters too.
So have you done any type of feasibility study at this point that, and you know, to identify which buildings you have that can be retrofitted easier than others, or?
Yes,
You've
yes.
done that already?
Yeah, so in the request within the 5 to 7 year plan, there's 2 major remodels of 2 different stations. And I do have some pictures on there when I get to it, and it'll show you what we're proposing to do in those stations.
All your stations have been abated, right?
Yes,
They've been, all the asbestos has been
yes,
removed,
yes,
everything.
yes, they all have.
Yeah, that was a couple of years in process, all
It's
of them.
big.
And I know you had a program where you were going through station at a time, retrofitting. You do have a schedule here as to how you're gonna do that
Yes.
down the line, right?
Yes, we're trying to be as strategic as possible,
Right.
but at the same time, we realize the challenge of the money, the budget. It's more, some are easy to change, and some are a complete remodel. So the 2 stations that I'm going to show you are essentially gutting the interior of it and moving from 1 floor to 2 floors on it too. And that still lets us use the land, which is efficiently having the station there makes us very efficient, but it makes the station more healthy in a certain way of putting it.
Sounds good.
Go to the next one. Okay, so now I get to my asks. So I'll get more specific in each ask, but our priorities are the facilities. So the fire stations that I mentioned are 16 is the one, the Buena Vista, 17 is mile marker 15, 18 is the one that's on Mines Road and by Green Ranch area. The fire shop, as I mentioned, once we started, that was one of the first projects that I was approved as chief. It was originally $200 a square foot. When we put out the bid a couple months ago, came back at $550 a square foot. So that's also, we are short also on the construction in that way. And then under that is the different requests to remodel the different stations. We have them listed in the different priorities. Station 9, Station 2 those are the stations that when we did that feasibility study with the engineer, he identified that we had to move personnel from 2 other stations. What we did is move the personnel to those stations, but those stations were not built to have as much people in there. Is it livable? Still. Is it ideal? No, it's not. So it is on the plan for us to make the stations a lot bigger and more efficient. So those are the ones that we're looking at to completely gut them and remodel them and build up on those. The mayor station is the one that's right in front of the police station. That's the one that we need to get out of the rent. That's the other one too. The Pinto Valle station is, we have a training field all the way. We have a fire truck there, but the master plan also shows that we need to have a ladder truck out there too. That station is one of our smallest stations. It's actually built almost on the very top of the station. We want to build a station beside it. And then the San Bernardo station, which is another one that is in our CAP, but that's the one I keep kicking down. Why? It's still efficient, but that station was built in the 1930s. It's right in the corner, real pretty.
Oh, that's what about the
So when you entered the building, you saw that pretty fire truck here? That pretty fire truck?
Yeah.
That station was built for that type of fire truck.
Yeah.
So the fire trucks are about 2 to 3 times bigger now. And that station was built just for a fire truck. Currently, we have a fire truck and an ambulance there too. So one comes out from the back of it and one comes out from the
You
front.
can't use that spot there, chief, right? I mean, you need more land to do what you gotta do.
There has been some interest by landowners around the area too, and that have proposed to the city too, to the real estate department. And that is also, I do have it on there too, the how much it's appraised to, but that is also one of our other asks, to relocate that station really close to that other station too.
So is that the oldest station we have currently in our arsenal?
Active? Yes, sir.
Because that should be turned into some type of
Museum.
Museum.
No, that's also,
Short side.
that's also a request, but that's more on the want side,
Yeah.
not on the need side, but, so.
I'm kidding.
No, that's been already told by my team already too. Well, I said, let's get the station first and the land too, but.
Okay.
I have to go back to that one?
Cover the arts with that. Cover the arts.
So after that, So after that, some of the stations require land. At the Station 3, the San Bernardo, at the station where City Hall is, there's a station that you go all the way down City Hall. There's a small fire station. I remember the first time I got sent to that station, I couldn't even find it. This was about 23 years ago, because it's really small. It's been remodeled. It's been remodeled, but the footprint of the station, we've outgrown it. So we also want to acquire land in order for our firefighters to park inside there, because some of our firefighters have parked outside and they've gotten their vehicles vandalized too.
You know, Chief, when the bridge number 2 was built, there was a lot of relocation of people because there was a bunch of single residential homes that was in the way of where the International Bridge number 2 span was going to go. And so the city of Laredo back then did all the surveys, and they relocated all those people, and they put them at the old air base and all those duplexes that we have out there. Something like that maybe could be thought of for this, where you need land and we relocate these people somewhere else. Or we trade land with them. We trade. And we inventory all the land in the city. And I said this last week at the police chief, but you know, trade land, trade, and use the money we save into bricks and mortar, into bricks and mortar, into bricks and mortar. And I firmly believe we can sell that much easier to the voters, because we're proving that the city is doing everything in its power to stretch the money.
Yes.
Stretch the money. Because that's all I talk about in my conference room with my staff, is stretching the money. And so that I want to just say that again and again and again. I'm not going to stop saying it. So I hope y'all get tired of it. But you know, I know a lot of developers too. I know a lot of them. And so, and this is my city too. And so we need to try that idea, see if it's workable, if it's feasible, and maybe it could work, because it did work when they built Bridge 2. It worked.
No, we'll make sure we'll put that in part of our plan, and we'll work with our real estate department. For that station down in Houston, we actually sent out letters of interest for the different landowners, and there was one that did respond, and they were willing to set at a reasonable price, but then the stations in the south and the north got in the way, and the cost is, so that's when I had to push down. The mayor station too, as I mentioned, is we're trying to get away from leasing. That's another land. And then for my units, each fire truck used to be $500,000. Now it's 800 to 900,000. The ladder trucks, the ones with the ladder, used to be $1 million. About close to $2 million now. So when the chief brings me the price tag, I was like, ooh, and he's really looking out there trying to put the best price, but they cost about $2 million. So we do have very expensive vehicles, but they all have a purpose. And we try to be as fiscally responsible and just make them as basic, but also efficient at the same time too. So part of our vehicles requests are the activation of the new vehicles, but also the ones that we have in our program that are after. The fire trucks and the ladder trucks have a specific lifespan. Like I mentioned, 10 for the fire truck, the ladder truck is 12, and then after that is about 5 to 6 years where we can use them as reserves. The ambulance go out a lot more frequent, a lot more wear and tear. Those are probably 5 years, and also if we keep them up, we can also use them for another additional 5 years. But on the ambulances, what we're doing is we're taking off the chassis, and also
that's a great idea.
And it's saving us some money too. So. Equipment, each station too, different equipment. So each time that we hire a firefighter, the overhead for each new firefighter is about 10 to 15,000, and that's the personal protective equipment they have. So the gear that we use, the bunker gear that we use, is the firefighter gear, the helmet, the SCBA, all of that. Every time we hire, it's a personalized to them too. Why? Because it makes them more secure, and also if it's personalized to them, it's fitted to them, it helps reduce the cancer risk on them too. So there is a specific price tag. I have it broken down there in the spreadsheet. I know I have a lot of data there for you too, and I have it more a little bit bigger here so you can see what I'm asking for too. Okay, now I'm going to get more into the meat and the potatoes of the ask that I'm going to be requesting is, so on the Buena Vista and the mile marker 15 station, we are in the process of those. Those are already approved for us to build. We have money already for land and design. The architect that we hired has been hired. actually for the Buena Vista and the mile marker 15 station. So something that they're actually here with us too, and if you have any questions specifically with the architect, they'll help you answer them. So when we hired the architect, knowing that we need 2 new stations, we actually hired it for both, and we got a cost savings on that too. And the stations inside are gonna look very similar. Of course, one's gonna be bigger than the other one, but the interior is gonna be very similar, so we are able to get a cost savings on that. But it also, we have approximately a $3.4 million shortfall on what we were budgeted because of the increase from $500,000 to $700,000 and the construction cost of the station 2. I also put on here the council district that we're going to be responding to, and then also this were already asked that we had on our CIP too. This were already requests that we've had on the books already, and they correlate to our CIP that what we need to update for our city management every year. And the Mines Road Green Ranch area, and that one is also about 8.4 million. That station is smaller than the other stations, but because on the timeline that we have it, it's 4 or 5 years from now, we've calculated the square footage is gonna be a lot more to build it 4 years from now than today.
Everything's getting more expensive.
Everything's getting more expensive. Go to the next one. Here, I go more specifically into the remodeling ones, and I have them in order of which ones I'm requesting to remodel.
Which one of those is easy, Chief? Are there any easy ones there?
The ones that I need the most are the top 2. Okay. The ones where I move additional personnel in there that have outgrown the station, and that's where, is it a challenge?
Priority 1.
Those are priority 1. The other one is the station by, the station that, like I mentioned, is the one by the airport, the Mines Road. Station 3 is my downtown station, or the one by Martin High School. Station 5 is the one that's there by my busiest station. Also, that one is, it was built for 2 units to come out, and 1 unit comes out from the back, so the request is also to put an additional bay to make it more operationally efficient. And the station 4 is to add a more parking area for my firefighters too. Like I mentioned, at that station, they park on the street, and it has happened that they vandalize their vehicles too. So most of these requests, as you can see, are in our CIP. My priority 1 and 2, the only reason I didn't have in my CIP is because when we moved them, the CIP was already made, and then we moved the stations because of the consultant, and that's why, but they are at the top of the list, the priority list for my remodeling of the stations. Go to the next one. I also have administration requests too. The fire shop, which is in the process of already being built. Like I mentioned, that was my first major project as chief. But when we started, is $200 a square foot, now $550 a square foot. We have a shortfall of about $1.5 million. The other one is our training center that we have over there by Pinto Valle. There's always been a request from the training division to update our equipment, to upgrade the additional buildings, but what always takes priority is usually the fire trucks and the ambulances. So unfortunately, even within our own division, when my division heads come to me and ask me for the request, it's always the fire trucks, the ladder trucks, and the ambulances. But this is also another request that we're requesting, about $2 million in updates in the training field, also to upgrade it to be a more efficient and operationally efficient training center. And then even the administration center here too, and this isn't a lower priority, but it is still a priority, is we've already outgrown this building too. There's not enough bathrooms. As you can tell, it's a busy building. There's only 2 areas and 1 upstairs. I don't have enough administration area. I need a warehouse area too. So there's some areas that we've identified too. So this building here is, we used to be spread around all throughout the city. And then many years ago, they put it under Chief Landin's, when Chief Landin was the chief, he put everything here. So all the different divisions are here. We have the administration, which are the command staff, and then all the supplemental staff. Then we have our finance department too. We have our suppression division, arson and prevention, and then this is the EMS division too. So this area that you're in right now, this is a classroom right here too. This is where we train our paramedics. On our 10 to 12 month paramedic school, this is where they get trained. We have a lab where they practice their skills, and we have libraries. About 15 years ago, in order for us to continue training our own paramedics, we train our own paramedics. We don't outsource to anybody else. We train you get certified here to be a firefighter, and you get certified here to be a paramedic. Many, many years ago, the agency that accredits other schools, like the colleges, Laredo colleges, came to the fire department and said, in order for you to continue training your own paramedics, you need to have the same standards that Laredo College has. Same didactic hours, same clinical hours. We have a little college inside our school. We are accredited. So when a firefighter graduates here, he can go to Laredo College, and he actually gets college hours. We have the same standards that Laredo College has. We have about a 95% passing rate of all our cadets. Once you enter here, about 95% of them pass. I mean, we make sure every year we have, not every year, when they apply for the fire department, we had a recent application process. We had about 10,000, 1,100? Yes. Yeah, about 1,100 firefighters apply. And we usually choose between 40 and 80, depending. 40 is one class and 80. So we have a very, very meticulous process. So it takes a lot of skill, physical and mental, in order to be a firefighter. But when they graduate, they do have those certifications too. So what we've noticed here, in order to continue meeting the demand for the school, is we need to expand this area, and different things that, as a college here, this little college here, in order for us to continue meeting the needs for the community, we're also making a request to expand this for the different things.
To expand this place, we're going to need to acquire land.
There's a different area that we've looked at here where we can expand maybe up. We've been trying to be fiscally responsible too. That old station that was over here, it was just being used as a storage room, working with city management and budget. We're using it now as a, we call it a employee wellness mental health facility for our firefighters and police officers.
Yeah, we need a parking garage based on the parking the way it was today when we all got here.
Yes.
To accommodate additional floor space. That's what always drives these costs through the roof. And I'm kidding about that, but I'm serious.
No, it is.
Anyway.
Did you even think about, would it be less expensive or behoove to you at all to train some at LC and maybe make a deal with them, or is it just so much more expensive for your budget?
So we've looked at that. We think it's more operationally efficient to train our own. Something that we are looking at considering is we have something that's called minimum standards. In order for you to enter the fire department, you need to have certain minimum standards. There are certain standards set by the state, and then within each municipality sets their own standards that's approved by commission. When you take the written exam right now to be a firefighter, per the state law, depending on your rank, where you score is how you end up. That rank carries all the way to you to the very end when we're ready to hire you. So let's say 1,000 people take the test and you score 50 and we're hiring 40. Well, process of elimination, because of the different tests, it depends where you end up. But just because you did better on a skills test doesn't mean you move up. No, you keep that rank. That's the raw score. State law says that you can get 5 points if you've been honorably discharged or active military. So those 5 points sometimes is between you enter the department or not. What we did 2 years ago is we went to the Civil Service Commission and we proposed to them is, can we give 5 points if they're a certified firefighter or a certified paramedic in order to reduce the academy, and they approved it. In order for us to do and see the long-term effects of that, it's probably going to be 4 to 5 years. Right now we have a partnership, an MOU with Laredo College, that they started a fire science program. There is a lot of need for law enforcement and public safety in the city of Laredo. So they started, now Laredo College is going to be able to offer, you go to Laredo College, you pay on your own, it's a cost savings to the department, you get your firefighter certification, and that also shows if you want to be a firefighter, because we have had candidates or cadets that come into the department and they go through the process, and within 4 to 8 weeks or even shorter than that, they're like, I didn't like this.
Right.
So you go in there, you get your certification as a firefighter, so that reduces the academy time, and you get those 5 extra points. So that's something that we've been working on too. We have a partnership with them, and we are looking at that. That wouldn't eliminate our EMS academy at all, because they still have to have a certain standards or training that we do, but it will shorten it too, man.
Yeah.
But we are looking at different ways to be strategic on that.
But from my point of view, I think the key to all this regarding buildings in general is maximizing our current buildings to their maximum possible use, because it's cheaper to retrofit one than to build them, I think. The architect could correct me if I'm wrong on that. So, to me personally, as a taxpayer, I would want to know, are you maximizing the use for each building to its best and the best use possible? And if the answer is yes, we've done all this, blah, 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 this is the proof, and we need more, okay, we need more. And we continue this conversation like we've done tonight. But so that's, I think, to me, as a committee member here, in listening to your presentation now and the police chief's last week, the building aspect is major league. And we need to be clear with the public that we've done just that we have maximized everything we possibly can maximize on existing buildings, and we can't do any more. And I think if we can prove it and show it, the people will respond. That's my own personal opinion.
The next one. We go to the station. So I'm going to go into the specific. We had like I mentioned, an engineer that came in and did a feasibility study and showed us where we had our stations. But now I want to show you some more data on specifically on why I'm requesting to build or completely gut some stations and build new stations. I'm going to show you pictures of how they look, the size of them, and the response area too. So, for example, this station here, as I mentioned, this is the Cigarroa station. This station before is, we used to have 3 units here. We used to have the fire truck, the ambulance, and right beside it was an EMS captain. He responds to that district area that I mentioned, that emergency area. Well, when the professional engineer came by, he identified that this truck that was at Celito Lindo should be moved here. So we moved the station here, and then in the back of the building, that's where the EMS supervisor responds. Here, this area is just storage. It's not feasible. So the request is for us to increase on the size. And here, the living area is 86,000 square feet. 8,600 square feet. For the amount of personnel that I have there, I should have an additional, more living area too. So what we proposed is, because we can't acquire more land, and I don't want to move the station, is to build up. So that's one of the things, to be more operationally efficient. For the next one. So this is more pictures of the station itself, where one of the challenges is, we've remodeled this station, but I think we've come to already where we have to completely change the interior of it too. So that's one of the requests. This station has been remodeled a couple of times too. And it's just usually Band-Aid work, or as much as we can possibly afford. For the next one. This is the living area too. As you can tell in the top left corner, where it shows where the firefighters sleep, is best practices now is for them to have individualized dorms. As I compare new stations to old stations, this is what we work with. And my firefighters don't complain, and they do the best job possible too. But if I have their best interest, their health, their mental health, their physical health in mind, is remodeling this type of station and making it more operationally efficient.
That would be another picture to show during this whole, the people need to see the living quarters of what these most important people are doing and where they're living and how rested they are sleeping in that type of thing.
So this station here it doesn't have windows.
That's another thing.
Just like the station that's in front of the police station doesn't have windows. Yeah. And my firefighters are there 24 hours. Daylight, sunshine, it takes an impact on your mental health. It really does. So that's one of the things too, is the new station. I was just meeting with the architect, and I was telling him, I want big windows And that is best practices to have big windows in the living area too, sunlight. I mean, that reduces stress. Go to the next one. This is the other top request that I have. This is the station that is on Mines Road. The ladder truck that was in front of the Sames, we moved it to Mines Road. Why? To be more operationally efficient. That station there is even smaller than the station by Zacatecas, by Cigarroa. So the same thing too. The station on the right upper is, I have a fire truck and an ambulance. Right now what I actually have is the fire truck, the ladder truck, and the ambulance is in the back and it comes out through the back. And then the rendering that we're having is also, we want to build up. We want to build up too also. Go to the next one. So this also shows you how the ladder truck comes out. We make it work. I mean, we're ready for duty, we make it work. We're operationally efficient. If there's an opportunity for us to make changes, make the building more efficient, that's where the request is coming in. The building area too. So this is an area where yeah, that's an area too. That's a working area too. That's the living area. I have about 10 to 12 assigned firefighters for that small area too. So that's the other request that we have too. So like I mentioned, we make it work, but it's not operationally efficient for our firefighters. That station too, as I mentioned, that's an older station too. It doesn't have individualized bathrooms, showers. So is it safe? There's certain things that we've done to make it safe, but it's not operationally efficient. This is my airport station. Go back. This is the airport station. This is the one I mentioned. That's right in front of the PD headquarters. I guess it was the old terminal, and we retrofitted it. That station has no windows also too. Absolutely no windows. Has a lot of dead space too. So as I mentioned to you, this area it's right on the flight line. The station is right here. The shop is right here. Phase 1 is move the shop. Phase 2 is move the station. Go to the next one. In front of the station 2 is also where people call it the graveyard, the fire truck graveyard. If you pipe by there, those are the fire trucks that are going to be donated, or some of the ones that are being worked on by the mechanics. That's why the shop also is where we're going to have where we're supposed to have all those fire trucks too. So.
Sister Cindy.
Yep. More pictures of the fire station. I know a lot of my chiefs were stationed at that station, and we can tell you, there's big issues on that station too. It was a priority, but the Buena Vista and the mile marker 15 station bumped it down. It bumped it down too. Go to the next one. That is currently my shop. That's where this small shop is where we service $1 million fire trucks.
Yeah.
So
save us millions
yes.
of dollars too.
Yeah. So the investment should be, the investment comparative to it is not the same. The fire trucks, they actually added to the back of the shop in order for our fire trucks to fit inside there in order for them to work on them correctly. It is a constant call that we usually get from the airport director that says how he doesn't like how when his VAPs come in from these and park at Signature or they look at our fire trucks and I have nowhere else to put them. So,
do you have a lift there for
yes,
your?
yes,
Okay.
yes we do. Yes we do.
Good.
Go to the next one. This is our busiest station. This is the station that is by where the water tower is besides Nixon. This is our busiest station. The interior of it was redesigned and it is operationally efficient, but the exterior where the bays are, it's not. We have 3 units assigned to it, so we only have 2 bays to the front, and then the EMS captain responds from the back. One of the requests is that we add an extra bay to the side too. That is also part of our master plan too.
And as fire trucks change in design and size, how do they manage to fit in such a small bay?
So we're able to customize to a certain point our fire trucks. That is a very, very, very tight squeeze, but it fits. Sometimes some of our fire trucks have a hose on the top. On some of that, we don't put it there, or sometimes we're able to shorten the fire truck. We are able to change the specs of some of our fire trucks to a certain limitation without incurring more of a cost. But this station, as you can tell, is very low. The station by Houston and the station by Martin. So we've actually ordered some smaller fire trucks to a certain point in order to make them fit. Go to the next one. This is our fire station by Pinto Valle / training facility. So our fire station is, so the bay area, it's a big open bay area. You see those 4 bays right there? And then up here, this building on the top, on the picture on the top right, that itself is the fire station. That's where my 4 or 3 firefighters sleep there. And that's where they get in the fire truck and respond. That's not as efficient as I think it could be. So the request is, because I'm going to have another fire truck there, or a ladder truck, is to build a station right beside the bay. We have a lot of land there. We have a lot of land, as it was discussed before. So we're trying to maximize that land there too, so.
And that's the station that serves Columbia Bridge?
Yes, so that is on the 5 to 10 year master plan. That is where I need to expand that station. I also need a station by the Columbia Bridge area.
That area is growing too.
Yeah.
And why don't you put the trucks that don't work over there since you have so much room?
So those trucks that don't work there, sometimes they use them for parts, and some of them do work. I mean,
Or whatever, yeah, the ones that you're working on.
Yes.
Wouldn't that area
we like to have them closer to the mechanic and needs to heat so you can get some parts, or some of them barely make
Can't
it.
go with you
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
It's a pick and pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Go to the next one. That's it? Okay.
There's a lot of need.
Go back to the main one.
There's a lot of need.
Okay, so here now I'm getting to, so this is the request on the vehicles. So each vehicle has a different price tag. Like I mentioned to you, the different fire stations that every time we activate a unit, a fire truck, we need to buy a new fire truck and fire FTEs. At the same time, we have existing fire trucks, ambulances, ladder trucks, staff vehicles that we've started a strategic plan. I actually gave you our SOP. Best practices, best standards is certain mileage, certain hours, certain so much work orders, that we have a point system in each of our vehicles, and it's in your packet that shows us which are the next ones. This is something that as a team we came up with the best way to replace our vehicles. Because I know there's a challenge on the bond capacity, 20 to 30 million. So that's when we go up to the budget director and management is, which ones do you need, chief? So, and when the chiefs come to me and tell me, chief, this is what I need, we came up with a point system. I have the point system there. All our vehicles should be there. Our ambulances, our fire trucks, and that's how the request is for the vehicles that we are requesting to replace. Go to the next one. Equipment too. Some of the equipment, some of our higher priced equipment that we have, I included here, including the antenna that we're going to share the cost with LPD, as the police chief mentioned in the presentation, in order for us to expand our coverage for our radio system. And protective gear, that is essentially our gear that we wear. Like as I mentioned, there's a price tag for every time a new firefighter gets not the salary, but also the overhead, about 10 to 15,000 in the bunker gear too. Radios too, they're coming up to the end of life. All the radios that we have, there used to be 5,000, they've increased in price. We are looking also at different vendors to see also if it's operationally efficient to use other radios, but still, that is gonna be a couple of $1 million also. Another request that we have is best practices also show that in order for us to respond to active shooter threats. In the past is when we responded to active shooter threats is most of you have heard of the hot, cold, and warm zone. In the past, EMS used to stay outside in the cold zone. Now it shows that if we move closer into the warm zone, we are able to save more lives. Now, this is not saying for us to have tactical EMS units. This is more for our firefighters to move in closer. If there's an active shooter threat, let's say at a school, we can safely move inside the school, still be safe, work directly with PD, they secure an area, but those firefighters, in order for them to move in there, we need to have ballistic vests. We need to have helmets too. Through our ARPA funds, we were able to identify some funds, and we were able to buy the first batch of those ballistic vests. And we started the training about 18 months ago. And we've just started to change those best practices. It's an ongoing process, but we feel that this is gonna be a better outcome this is the world we live on now. So we need to be prepared for that too. Our breathing apparatuses, the ones, it's not oxygen, it's air. Each one of them has a cost specific to it, so we're also requesting for them to be replaced. Also extrication tools too. So right now, every ambulance has the jaws of life. But when there's major accidents, we have two specialized teams. One was recently activated in South Laredo. Before, it used to be the station right here. That's the one that goes, it's a big truck, and it has all the specialized equipment, and they can tear apart a car in like 2 to 3 minutes. We've activated another unit in South Laredo too. Why? Because the days are gone where you could say, I'll get there in 10 to 15 minutes. Now it takes about 30, 40, 45 minutes with traffic. So we activated another rescue team in South Laredo. The goal is to put another rescue team right in the middle of the city too. Right there where either the Sam's area, where that station is, or the Bartlett station too. So that is the incurring cost for that, for us to respond more efficiently. Also training props for to build more training props for our training center where we train our firefighters, and also some emergency management equipment. Go to the next one. This is a overview. I condensed it a little bit on the spreadsheets that I gave you on your plan. So we created 2 plans. Okay, so, and I know it has been mentioned to me and the budget director, and I've talked to Chief Landin on it, is the possibility if the referendum doesn't pass, that we wouldn't be able to ask for certain items for 2 to 3 years. So the original request is if everything that I'm requesting, including those 3 projects that I'm currently working on, the 2 stations and the shop, which are in the process, the cost is about $92 million. Now go to the next one. If I take away the shop and everything I need, and that fleet program that I have for the next 2 to 3 years, my cost would go down to $62 million. So that's the information I wanted to pass to you. That's why I have 2 different plans.
And can we vote on it as voters, like we base and then add-ons? Can we do that?
Well, we can recommend.
How is that going to show up? Is it going to show up
Add
with
on.
PD and fire, or is it one together?
Well, one of the things that we talked about at the last meeting was to make sure that we put down like a cafeteria plan, you know, and I like the way you laid it out, Chief, where we can go all in at the 62.
No, the 92.
So go to the next one.
At the 92.
At the 92, and then, or go 62 plus 30, you know.
But are the
So
voters
that's
going to
all
see
committee.
PD and fire, or are they going to see one number
That's
together?
gonna be what you all recommend as a committee to the main committee.
You can break it down as far as you want.
It's say for example, we go out to the voters. Proposition 1 is fire and police. Is that the way it's gonna go out?
Or it could go fire and
Or
police.
is it just fire or police?
Or you can even go
Either
further
way.
than that. You can
You can
go
break it down as far as.
buildings and then equipment,
Yeah.
you know.
'Cause,
buildings and- It's how far.
It's how long you want to keep them there at the booth.
I don't think we should break it down to stations and engines, because if
Which
they
is-
approve one thing, you can't get the other. Say, they approve all the fire trucks, you don't have any buildings.
Right.
Point.
Right.
So it should just be a package deal.
The 92.
Whether we separate PD and fire, that's a big question, but it should just be the package of.
The 92.
The 92.
The 92.
And PD the same.
I think PD the same too, but the thing is that, I mean, I think it's gonna be important that we separate them and do PD and fire, and to show the need, because there's so much need on both sides. It's gonna be hard to really get the testimonials. I mean, I would love testimonials from some of your firefighters that have been ill based on, you know, some of the things that we talked about here, trying to improve. And of course PD too, but I think splitting them up, I mean, unless somebody else has other ideas.
Well,
I think
I'd
would
like
be
to
easier.
suggest, I agree with what we're saying, but I would like to suggest that maybe we identify, Chief, you made a great presentation on priorities, and last week, Chief Rodriguez, so did you. I would like to suggest that you go back to everything you've just discussed and identify the must-have, just to be current. What is that? And what is that number? And then, because, you know, the way I look at
Is
it
that
is
the number?
that's a
It's
base
a
bid.
taxpayer.
That's a
Right.
base bid, right?
Right.
That's what we gotta have. And then we add on other items like that, because that way the taxpayer that votes is gonna have to say, look, I gotta agree, I gotta vote this yes, because
Right.
it's just to comply with law.
Right, right,
I gotta say yes to
absolutely.
this. And then the other stuff is gravy, sort of.
There's just no gravy here, I mean.
It's a priority 1.1.
No.
Well,
Because it's all important.
And there's a couple of things that are gonna happen.
But when
before
you look at the
present
grand
to
total,
voters.
It's
First, you have to identify these priorities as a subgroup.
Yeah,
Then you have to come together and come to consensus with the larger group.
Right.
Because they also have petition
Right.
what their needs are.
Right.
And then as the larger group, y'all come to consensus, and that's what's gonna go into the referendum. So there's a couple of ladders, steps.
Right.
And say, yes, and say we keep, those are good suggestions. Say we move forward with the projected number that we have to work with. One of the things that we need to do is both with fire and police, when we get ready to go do the public hearings, because I think we're gonna have two
We should,
as a committee
minimum.
out in the community or whatever. I think both of the departments need to really bring out the things that we've mentioned in the police department, that they need to see, the condition, those type of things, the conditions that these firefighters are having to live in. It's not just a job, they live there.
Right,
And, you know, I think they need to see that.
yes.
And so then when we do go out to the community, I think we just need to structure the presentations a little bit to make sure we bring that message out across.
To zero in on emotion.
That's gonna be real important. Then we start going into the brick and mortar stuff. That's the things that we need in there. I think the costs are legitimate, but I agree with Mr. Garza. There are some things that probably we can look at, and I'm pretty sure that if we all sit down and we continue to look at those, but I see it as an opportunity for us to be able to tell the story. And us as a committee members, we're gonna do everything that we can to get the word out, but I think it's getting the word out to the voters is gonna be the key in order for a bond package like this to be able to move forward. We haven't done anything like this in a long time, okay? So it's, you know, we're all gonna have to become, you know, car salesmen, you know? We're gonna have to sell ourselves to do that pitch. And I think the information is all here. It's here. And it's very legitimate and it's very needed in order for us to be you know, the great city that we are. We have to have a good fire and police department. That's just bottom line.
Now, we have to also, again, going back to last week's conversation as we addressed the equipment, you have 2 years to make that expense. Because once you secure the bond, you have to commit to it. And so that's something you have to consider on the vehicle replacement program, is am I gonna have to buy all of it right now, which means they're gonna phase out at the same time in 5 years.
Yeah.
Is that also with like the buildings, they have 2
No,
years? to
yes,
do-
well, to
But like-
start to start spending.
You can
Well,
encumber in a
encumber.
multi-year
Okay.
agreement.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some things that we could recommend, but I still would like to leave the money in, like in the police department, because they need so much more money because of the complete
Right.
turnover of vehicles and
That's what I was-
equipment that they need to make the same as you guys. And that's a part that will, of the capital that will last you 2 or 3 years, and then it's gone, maybe 1 year, and then you gotta replace it. And, you know, you gotta have that cash money there in order to be able to be doing that, and not have to be, you know, sacrificing on that part, because that's what assists all of you to do your job, right there. if you don't have the equipment, you can't do your job. And I think that's something that we're gonna have to look at real carefully, in that line item, so that we can help the departments maintain that support. Then we're gonna get to that brick and mortar stuff, because I think, that's more of a longer term type of deal, but I think, telling the story is gonna be the key here. I think the committee members have seen some things here that, you know, have,
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
to-
you know, and as taxpayers, you know, they can see how this is something that is needed in the community. So, you know, not just in fire, but also in police.
The thing with PD is that their vehicles only last 5 years, and I think that's a big hurdle that they're jumping over, right? For you at least, it's a little bit longer, but you all live here. They don't live here, and so that's something a strength that we need to work with, so that people can see what they're actually living in. I think we need help there.
So your total ask, chief, is 92 million, is that your total ask?
Yes, that's my total. Originally, before we got the request, or the bid proposal from the shop, we were at about 55 to 60 million. Most of the things were on there, but after, then I ended up talking with the architects and our city engineer, we bumped our 500 square foot price to 700.
Well,
And that's,
smart.
yeah.
That's a smart move, so.
You should be good
It's
with
gonna be
that.
100 million.
Is it?
That's what's really gonna be.
Yeah, it's
Is it
going.
really
Yeah,
anything?
when we actually build these things, we're gonna need more money. The way things are just projected, I mean, but I'm glad that you and your architect are thinking that way, because that's very intelligent thinking based on the conditions we're in right now and the construction industry. And so the total ask here, the total ask is 240 million between you and PD.
No.
No, it's
92 for you and.
it's 92 for me, but how much?
142 million, 150.
230.
And then?
230.
Oh, 200, I'm sorry. So we're looking at even more.
Yes, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think the approach I've asked other chiefs that have gone through this referendum, the approach has always been you have to simplify it for the voters. If you start breaking down too much into what it is, it's just gonna go maybe south.
Right.
So the majority has been public safety, right? We heard the chief here, we heard myself, and the need is there. So the justification is there, but I think you just put public safety, combining both, it's just easier for the voters. This is what we need to continue having our city as an ISO rating of 1, as the safest city in Texas. Those are the things.
So you think we should do them together, is what you're saying?
That's what the conversations that I've had with the chiefs, that's what they've said, that you have to bundle it up. Because then it goes too much into a breakup. People really don't, the public is not gonna go down.
They can choose.
And see what it is that they need or not.
So something that we're working on is, we always do public education. We always do outreaches. But what we're trying to also show, and we're working on the presentation is, so I feel it's easy for us to sell the outlier stations, but it's the voter base is all the city. So at the same time, we can also show where having an efficient station out here also affects somebody that's inside the middle of the city. And that's why we're also making those requests, is because we need all the voters to vote on this, just not the people living in the outlier stations for us. So, and we're prepared to do that. We have we're working on also on education, public outreach too, to help promote. I always get told that, it's like, I didn't know you did that. Oh, I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you did that, but we've been trying to do that, and we're going to continue doing that, because that is one of our strategic goals, to educate the public on what we do too.
Chief, on the vehicles, getting all those vehicles, you wouldn't be able to get them all at once. I mean, you could put the order in, but they'd be staggered. It wouldn't be a problem of they're all going to come of age at the same time, because I'm sure there's limited manufacturing. How many manufacturers are there? 1 or 2?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, they can't pump them all out at once, right? I mean,
Well, no, you know what? And then the chief just corrected me on it. I mean, and when I talked to other chiefs, specifically, like when we were talking about the ambulances, when we sent a letter to, I remember the, yeah, and as compared, like I ordered 3 ambulances a year, and I talked to the Houston chief, he orders like 30. So they can, I mean, our order would be bigger, but the possibility is there, the fire trucks too, I mean, other cities order a lot more. It's just, our ask would be bigger, but can they do it? I'm very confident that they can.
I think,
I'm just saying, 'cause we have 3 years to spend the money, is what they're telling us.
so what we do is, the key is encumbering the money. When you encumber it, you committed it, it's contracted. So you've met the obligation of the bond, right? And so ultimately, and we'll cross-check that with legal just to make sure, because it's encumbered, it's dedicated to that. There's a PO to it. And so what you do is you get into a 5-year contract with the vendor that gets the bid for the ambulances, the same, and then you stagger when they come in based on the delivery, so that you don't have one hit at the same
Yeah.
time.
We'll get you the specific language on
We
that.
have to try to get the bond.
Because it may be where you.
And we'll get with the vendor to make sure it's possible, but we're very confident that it can be done.
It's bond counsel that's gonna give us the green
Okay.
light.
Yeah.
And the key word is encumber.
Encumbered.
And so we're gonna make sure that we can put that, try to get that language in the bond so that it works for PD over the 5 years of the bond, that you encumber the vehicles coming in waves so that you don't have 100 to replace, as a chief would have, and you don't have all yours on top of you. It
Strategic.
happened to me, chief, that I ordered 6 fire
Oh,
trucks.
yes.
And then you inherited it because I retired and you had to replace 6 engines.
That was a challenge. That was a challenge
Yes.
word, so.
And hopefully everything moves forward. The issue will be when, you know, this is something for finance that, say the bond passes and, you know, what are the immediate things that you're going to need to purchase right off the bat, both fire and police? So that would be the amount that you would sell
Yes,
on the
well,
bonds?
yeah.
Right, I mean.
Yeah, you would sell, every year you're gonna have to sell bonds, right?
Well, that's on the COs, and that's not every year. This is
No,
like one
for
big.
this bond package.
Right, this is one big.
Okay, so then you would sell the entire 250 million
No,
at one time? No, see, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
It's like 800.
It's about
We're just talking here, fire and police,
330.
okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Fire and police, you
330.
know, would say just for, I mean, say the 800, you were gonna sell 800 all at one time?
Yes.
Because that's for everyone, that's the
Yeah,
whole referendum.
for
Depending on what
that.
passes.
Right,
Right.
and then from that, it's what portion is going to be for public safety, what portion is gonna be for.
See, because
L.
Why would we change
if that's-
interest since year 1, and let's say you don't need the money till year 2? Wouldn't you split the bond up, or
It's
that's not
one of the
possible?
bank.
It's
Yeah.
not possible.
And then you take their money.
If you do that and you sell the entire amount at one time, not everybody's gonna be building everything real quick, so you're gonna have a tremendous amount in there, interest earned. You're gonna have a lot of money that you're gonna earn interest,
But we,
so that's why I'm saying that if you do fire and police, and say you're gonna sell, you know, $800 million worth of bonds, but you're gonna do it in 5 years. But, you know, you take what's priority every year for everybody, so that like that, you can get the things done that you're supposed to do, so you don't have money sitting there.
But it's not really sitting there because they're gonna invest in it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
see,
I mean, they'll,
So.
they invested, that's what I'm saying, interest earned. So, you know, the interest earned is gonna be quite a bit of money.
We need to make sure the language, because we're talking about possibilities here. We have the chief talking 230, the fire chief talking 100, so we have 330 million proposed from both chiefs on our end, and this is one of the subcommittees. And so we need to iron out the bond language through bond counsel. And to get that definition, because those are good questions that you all have, that we don't have the legal answer for. My hope, my prayer is that we can encumber and issue contracts to either Chevrolet for Suburban, or for Tahoes and all that for the chief or whatever he chooses. And for the chief to do, if it's gonna be Pierce, if it's gonna be E1, it's gonna be, whatever the chief and his team decide, that we issue those obligations there and we stagger those deliveries, but it's gotta be in the language of the bond.
So
We lock it in as soon as you can,
Encumber it.
for fire
So-
police, right?
So these conversations we will have, the intent is, once we've identified what the what your desire is, what the needs are, then we will bring bond counsel, we will bring financial consultant, and then we'll have that conversation and
Yeah, well,
lay out all that.
make sure you guys keep an eye on that interest earned.
So, to conclude the presentation is, as I mentioned, the engineer also did a 5 to 10 year master plan. So while it is relevant, it is not on my ass, but we also, our plan all goes all the way to 10 years. So in my master plan, or that he identified is 2 more stations, 3 actually, but one is in the county. One of them is over there by the Columbia Bridge area. The other one is close to the 359 area, or the city is expanding a lot. And then the other one is where 35 and 255 too, but that's the county area too. 5 to 10 years is a little bit more dynamic. That's why there's a lot of things that can change, but I feel really confident on the ask that I presented to you all too. And that essentially concludes my presentation. Do you have any other questions for me? On the packet?
In this number?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Yeah, on the study itself, it's in there too.
But it's not in the number.
But it's not in the numbers, or it's in the numbers? Is it in the 19?
No, it's not in the numbers. So originally, when we were tasked to do a master plan, the city manager has had 10 years, and then he reduced it to 5 years. I also had current personnel costs that has been removed also too. So that's one of the other costs that I have to, like I said, and that's in there, in the packet too. Every time that I activate, there's also a cost for personnel costs that I have
Good.
also too.
Good. No need to go into an executive, okay. I think it's gonna be real important to prepare ourselves when we go out to the community. Basically, when we do that, it's to take input. Let's see how the community responds. Let's see if they come out. And we'd like for them to come out and let us know. Let us know what they think, and so we can take that forward and share that with the rest of the committee and the council, so that they can see what it is that the community is willing to support. I think that's going to be real important. You got some real good stories to tell, so I think we shouldn't hold back.
I will remind you, as you go out to the community, go out as a forum, because you cannot engage in dialogue with individuals. So.
And if I may ask, Mr. Chair, I know that we have a meeting pending, which was the day after the elections, I believe, was the day that we picked, or you all picked. And so we're looking at November 6th at the South Laredo Library at 5 p.m.
At McKendra?
What date is that? I'm sorry?
November
That's
6th.
Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's going to be both.
And it's you just need to let me know what you would like to have
Yeah,
on the agenda.
let me-
We'll work together.
Let me just ask the committee, on the meeting for November the 6th, what is it that we want the fire police to present? Do you want to present the similar? Do we want something different? What?
Maybe what you asked for, Ed, is if there's anything that you can skim off of there, anything at all possible.
What I would recommend, Mr. Chairman, is that each chief and their group identify a priority system on each one. You know, call it P1 through P5 or P1 through P3.
Okay.
And identify that, so that way we can look at the dollars of those 3 priorities levels.
Okay.
And from that, we can start to create some level of understanding of the maximum ask and
The
that range.
must-have.
Yeah,
The must-have.
the range of ask. I think that should be our goal
Okay.
for the next meeting, is to establish a range of ask, identifying the power, the P1, P2, P3.
And I appreciate that. The last committee that hasn't come together is the health committee. And they are going to meet the first week of November, which is the 7th. So my intent is hopefully bring everyone, all the committees, on the 12th, which is on a Tuesday
The 12th of November,
of November.
that's gonna be the whole committee?
That's going to be
The-
so I
The whole
would
group.
Oh,
say,
so we need to
which
get
is
prepared.
encouraging for this subcommittee, is that you've met more times and you guys are ahead of the game. So yes, it'd be great if you had at least some definition as to what the priorities are, and since you're way ahead of the game.
Maybe we can use this as a model for the other
Yes,
committees.
yeah, certainly.
Well, and then I think what we should do then is make sure that when we meet the next time, once we get those numbers, then we put something together that we're gonna present, like,
Yes.
at that,
And
Well-
the next meeting.
that meeting,
Yes.
we would need from both chiefs, a staff available to create a PowerPoint presentation on behalf of the committee. Okay, and then that would be what you're gonna put together as, this is what we're gonna be asking of the main committee. And since we're, way ahead of the other ones, right, because we're the first committee to meet, three times?
3 times.
We met 3 times already.
Yeah, we,
So
You know-
we'll be meeting a 4th time before we get to them, right? We need to be, first to present, right, so.
okay, so on the,
First to present.
the-
Yes, sir.
we meet on the 6th.
At what time?
On the 12th, all the committee members will meet at City Hall?
Yes.
Okay.
What time on the 6th? That's, did you say 6?
That would be, I'd say.
At 6, okay, so at that meeting, you want a presentation from this committee to the rest of the group?
Stand ready. I still need to see where the other committees are.
Okay. And I'll get together with you and the chiefs and we'll put it back, a presentation together, just real quick about what, a couple of minutes or
Just stand ready.
just a
Stand ready,
overview of
and I
what
need to
we've
know-
done.
I need to get with the other subcommittee liaisons to see where they are, and, because I don't certainly,
Just say,
put
you don't
them on
want us
the
to take
spot.
all night?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, you canceled one today, so,
What I'd like to see, if I may, and I just leaned over with Chief, is to have both chiefs work together so that when we meet on the 6th with you all, they can present to you.
Wonderful.
And that will be a presentation that you all
And then
will
we'll get
say,
it from
well,
there.
let's do this, this, and
Right,
this.
that's a great
And
idea.
then they'll finalize it, and then they'll be
Okay.
ready.
So yes, and so maybe the ideal thing would be is you're leading the way, set the standard. Hey, this is how, you make the presentation to, present your case to the rest of the committee, and then they can come back on that little second time to meet with all the committees so that they can bring their presentations as well. So,
But we don't get to sell ourselves short right now. We could present,
Yeah, you go
that this
for
is,
the-
this is what everybody needs,
mhm.
330 million.
Yeah.
But we have a backup, an option B for both teams of, this is a priority, we just can 30 million or 100 million off.
Kind of like what he
We have a
did.
plan.
This is
Exactly what he
this is
did.
a 92, and then if we have to cut, we go to here. He already did it.
yeah.
And so ultimately, if they can both work through it and come up with a PowerPoint, even though the numbers stay the same, right, that they're presenting, they simplify the document because you all are very interested in it, but the public's not gonna sit through 2 full-blown presentations like you had from the chiefs. And they gotta be very, and this is why, and this,
Absolutely.
If I may ask, because this is 3-year plan, cost is changing. And maybe it's not for only the bond comes, but what happens at the end of the day, you don't have enough money for a certain project?
We will have that conversation once everything has been selected, then say, okay, this is what we want, then our financial consultant will come and, give it to us. This is what you can afford.
Right.
So right now, we're window shopping.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I mean, I'm talking more
Yeah.
years down the line.
Right, once it's already.
It's already been approved, but
Gotcha.
what's the obligation of the city or anybody involved in, I can't build a third station, 'cause
This is the short answer to that. We have that in the utilities fund, right? And we have that going on right now. We had presented some bond sales and stuff, and then all of a sudden inflation hits, and you can't get to these other ones further down on the list. So they're building according to priority, they're purchasing according to priority, then they just run out. And so ultimately, then you didn't get to it, right, till you re-bond, you know, because
But- and
the
that's-
language that I've seen and all the times that I've seen us sell bonds is to be able to do public buildings, streets, you know, bridges, facilities and different, the language is a box of language. It doesn't say to build fire station number 1, fire station
Right.
number 5,
So there's no
it says
harm.
fires,
there's no liability that, oh my God.
That's,
So
that's
because
part
of
of the other,
we try to make
you
the-
have some, you have, account for reserves.
Good, good. Because you're facing that right now with the facility, the two-floor building, you don't have.
Fire shop.
Yes,
Right, and you actually put it in here, didn't you?
yes. Yeah, I'm short, two ongoing projects, I'm short.
$2 million.
Basically 5 million, 2 on one and 3 on the other.
Yeah, that's your P1, and your 3 fire stations, that's P1, and all the other things, you know, there's certain things already that are P1 on your list, just like Chief Rodriguez has his primary he's gotta have, because you're trying to comply with the law and the code. To me, that's P1.
Chief,
You know, how much money do I have to invest just to comply with law?
Yes,
And then 3 years from now, how much more do I need to comply with 3 years worth of, and then 2 years later, because this is like a 5-year plan. That's how I would,
Yeah.
that's how I would look at it,
Right.
from an engineering perspective, is what do I need right now just to comply? And then what do I need 2-3 years later, what do I need 2 years later? And that's my P1, 2, and 3.
yes.
Chief, in these,
Yes.
estimates and these plans, have you considered that inflation, that change in cost?
Yes, yes, the fire trucks that I show, you see in the spreadsheet, they're not all the same price, they've gone up. And then also the square footage, while I show you, as I mentioned, I'm short $3 million for that fire station in Buena Vista. That's a total of $8 million, but that station in Mines Road that I wanna build, it's a smaller station, but it's almost the same price, because I went up, as the engineer, as Ramon, our city engineer recommended, $700 square foot and add 5% for each year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I might need to add more, but I know in other states, they're about $1,000 a square foot.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good approach, Chief.
Because I think some of yours were $550 a square foot or something to that nature, right?
So we went to 650.
Did you go to 6 feet? Okay.
But it also comes down to area too, so
Right.
large buildings, the scale of cost drops and so on.
yeah.
So it's good to have higher numbers going in.
If, how quickly could you encumber, your most immediate, needs for fire and police? Say within a couple of months, like, encumber your police cars, your units, whatever, you know, lock them into a contract, as well as some of these ambulances, fire trucks and so forth.
Oh, yeah, let me say that in September, Frank went up with a team to sell our CO bonds in September. And they were given the account numbers of the bonds a month later, in October. And right now, the chiefs already have their bond money and an account number. And so,
We're quick
all we have to
spenders.
do is go to the next city council agenda item and present a purchase of that amount, and the money's covered.
Lock it in.
Yeah, and so in having that conversation now, we had a conversation with the leadership of providing our vehicles. And so we put that out, right, what if we get into this program, right, that you can give us vehicles for the next, 3 years? They said no, because right now, from 2023 year models to 2024, they went up $3,000. That's how big of a difference it made. So nobody's gonna lock in for like a program, or, this is the amount of money it's gonna cost you. Nobody's gonna do that. But I can tell you that even I think for fire, I don't think they're gonna go and bind themselves into one cost. And every year after year, just gonna keep on going up.
No contractor will do it either,
Nobody's
no.
gonna
So we have to program that into the bond.
The way you lock it in is in a contractual agreement that you put the interest or the inflationary cost of the purchase of of the vehicle, like, and if they wanna compete for it, then they'll say, you know what? I'll put in $3,000 this year because I know that it's gonna go up. Cause I mean, when I was chief, I would talk to the manufacturers all the time, and they say, your trucks are gonna go up 5% a year, chief. And I'd say, oh man, okay, so then that's why you're factoring it into yours, cause it's the same situation. I don't know about, and he's talking about GMC, Chevrolet, and some of those, they may not be that flexible, but it may work for you, you know, it may not work for them.
And we're confident if we get the money, the trucks, the time for them to make them, like the fire trucks, they have to make them from scratch, that they can make that many fire trucks. Because other cities that are 2 to 3 times bigger, they order a lot more than us. But we just don't buy from one, we buy from different vendors too. So we're confident if we get it, we can use it quickly and appropriately.
I mean, every city's buying
Yes.
all the time. So those guys are pretty busy.
Yeah,
You gotta get yourself in line and get in there quickly and lock it in. Same as, you know, all police and fire departments throughout the country are doing the same thing.
Yes.
So that was set for next week, and then we'll discuss putting a presentation
They will present to
between
you.
both of you to deliver to the rest of the committee, I guess,
Yeah.
on the 12th. And
So that you will see first their presentation on
Yeah.
the 6th.
Yeah.
Maybe add to it.
And then we'll-
it'll be ready to present on.
And then we'll prepare for the 12th, and then we'll have we'll call later a public meeting, okay?
I hear what y'all.
Anything else from the committee members? Anything else that you want add in there?
What time is the meeting for this?
What time is it?
5 PM is what you said.
Five.
Five.
Library?
We're
At
keeping
the
it at
library,
5.
the Kendrick, Troy.
Yeah, at the Kendra. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So
moved.
Second. Moved by Garza, second by Belinda. All those in favor?
All right.
We're gone. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Chief.
very much. Appreciate you.